Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Pinsetter1991, or Andrew Sanders is my real name. And a couple days ago, I made a speed drawing video of a crow hanging out on a tree branch, and I'm going to be showing how to draw that today. And the materials that you're going to need if you want to do it exactly like me, I used vine charcoal, which a lot of you probably haven't heard of. I hadn't heard of it until not too long ago. Well, I had heard of it, but I never really used it. I decided to try and, just try it out, see how I liked it. And it's pretty cool stuff. It's really easy to work with. You can see what I'm doing right now is I'm just using a little, like, half-inch piece of it to get mainly the background. Like, I'm working out the main shape of this tree branch, and I'm just kind of pulling it out of my head however I want it. I'm not going off a reference image. That's the cool thing about drawing stuff like branches or trees or really any plant in nature and a lot of objects in nature, rocks and stuff like that. You don't have to make them look like perfect because they're all different. So you have a lot of freedom when you're drawing stuff like this. You can make it however you want. So you don't have to go by exactly what I'm doing right now. You can make it look how you want. But that's mainly what I'm doing right now. I'm just doing kind of like the background, making it dark around the tree branch, not actually drawing on the tree branch right now because I just want the main shape of the tree branch, and I kind of want it to pop out, and I want it to look, closer and smoother. I'm going to blend in the shades that I want on the tree branch a little later. But if you don't have this vine charcoal stuff, or you can't find it, just use a regular piece of compressed charcoal, or just use a charcoal pencil if you have to. It'll take a little bit longer with a charcoal pencil because it's really easy to lay out charcoal with this stuff, or compressed charcoal is super easy to draw with, and it gets kind of messy too. Like, you guys should see my hands at the end of a drawing. They're just totally covered in charcoal. Sometimes my face is. If I scratch my face, I don't realize, and I get charcoal just all over me. But it's really fun to work with. I love charcoal. It's probably my favorite medium. So I have no idea what brand this is. I just got it at a local art shop. Came with a bunch of little sticks of the vine charcoal in it. It's really fragile stuff, but works fine. It's fun. I think I paid a couple dollars for it. So now I switched over to a piece of compressed charcoal. You can see it's a lot darker. And just getting some more shapes in there. A lot of shadow. Just making it however I want it to look. A lot of people ask me, hey, where do you buy these materials? And that's a good question because a lot of people ask me, and these people live like, I get people sending me messages from all over the place, from Russia or, I don't know, Brazil and other countries. And I have no idea where you would find this stuff in your country. Here in the United States, I usually go to, just like there's a little art shop on my boulevard just outside that's like 3 minutes from my house. I usually go there, or some of the more common places in the US are Aaron Brothers or Michael's Arts and Crafts. There's places like that around here that you can find. But I was asking around I took a drawing class, and I was asking my art teacher where he got all his supplies, and a couple other people in the class, and pretty much all of them told me they find most of their stuff on the internet. So that's a good thing. I mean, if you don't live around here, you've never heard of Aaron Brothers or Blick's or Michael's, your best bet is probably the internet. Just find a place that ships to your country, and there you go. But there's really not a whole lot of supplies that you need. A couple pieces of compressed charcoal. You can see I'm blending with my fingers. And there's a lot of people that say you shouldn't do that. You can't blend with your fingers. But I don't care. I love blending with my fingers. I love the effect that it gives. People say that because it's true. Like sometimes when you use your fingers in a drawing, you're gonna end up with fingerprints because your skin has a lot of oil in it. So if you're gonna use your fingers, wash your hands really good before you're drawing is usually a good idea. But I usually don't run into that problem, especially with a drawing like this. Like I don't care if I get a few fingerprints in there. It's all different values and different shades and yeah, whatever. It's not gonna really show up. Now if you're trying to make a perfectly shaded sky that's all the exact same color all the way across, or generally the same shade, that's when like a fingerprint is really going to show up. So like in my drawing where I showed, a lot of you have probably seen that tutorial that I made showing how to draw the beach sky with the clouds. I used a paper towel to blend it, all the charcoal in the background, to make it all really even, just an even value. So yeah, that's a good idea if you're doing like a sky. But in this case, like look at it, it's all different shades all over the place, and yeah, who cares if you get some fingerprints in there. So altogether, this drawing took me about 45 minutes. So I'm obviously not gonna I'm not gonna be able to play the whole thing for you at normal speed, but I think it's fairly clear what I'm doing to make the tree branch. There's not, like I said, there's nothing really special to it, but just go from your imagination. That's the good thing, like I was mentioning, about drawing objects in nature, compared with drawing like a portrait or somebody's face. Like if I'm gonna draw Albert Einstein, I have to make it look just like him if I want to make a successful rendering of Albert Einstein. I have to put the eyes right where they need to be, the exact shape that they need to be, the nose right where it needs to be, the shape of the face, the shape of the head. So that's the difference, like I was saying, between nature drawing and then realism or still life objects and stuff like that, where it has to be exactly how you see it if you want it to look exactly how it is. So just make it look how you want. No one's gonna care if that branch is different than another branch, because every branch is different. But yeah, like I was saying, I'm not gonna be able to show this entire thing at normal speed. I'll have to speed it up a little bit. But this is all the materials that I'm using, and like you can see here, I switched to a pencil to get some of the thinner lines in there. The pencil has a really sharp tip, or you can sharpen it and get some finer details in there. Somebody asked me a little while ago how to sharpen charcoal, because it's a pain. It can be a major pain sharpening these charcoal pencils because they break too easily. So do not use an electric pencil sharpener with charcoal pencils. A lot of times you can get fairly good results using one of those little hand sharpeners. The ones that they crank by hand. That usually works for me if I'm careful. The charcoal won't break. But these general pencils, man, a lot of times they'll just break, especially the really soft ones. So one of the best things that you can do, and it's kind of a pain, but you're gonna have to like sharpen it using a razor blade or an X-Acto knife. You just cut all the wood away from the charcoal, and then to sharpen the charcoal, you can use a little piece of sandpaper, or in art stores they actually sell a little block of sandpaper. It's like 2 inches long by about an inch wide. Little block of sandpaper, and it's got a bunch of, it's like a little pad. There's like layers. So once you use up one, you rip it off, and there's another one underneath it. So you just use that sandpaper and just rub the pencil on it until it comes to a point. Just kind of shave it down until it's as sharp as you can get it. So it's pretty easy, but it's kind of a pain, you know, kind of long process just to sharpen the pencil. But that's one of the problems that you run into with charcoal, because it's so fragile. So yeah, I think you pretty much understand the process of this tree branch. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward until we get to the crow. Start learning how to draw the actual crow. Alright, so what I'm drawing right now is the first, well, one of the legs of the crow. So that's where I started, because I wanted to figure out exactly where he was standing before I drew his body in there. But I'm thinking it's probably not really important where you start, but the legs seem like a good idea to me, because, you know, if you make the crow's body first, you might not have enough room, or you might have too much room for the leg. You can see I just cut the clip because I had to sharpen the pencil. You can see it's a lot sharper now. And that thing off to the left, that's what I was talking about, the piece of, it's like a little pad or block of sandpaper. That's what I used to sharpen it. So you can find those, but you can see it's a lot sharper now, which is a good idea, drawing like toes and stuff on the crow, the toenails and legs really skinny. So it's a good idea to have a sharp pencil. But this is the main idea right now. Draw 2 legs, kind of go out straight for a little ways, then start to curve up vertically. But I guess there's not a whole lot of science or anything special to it, you know, you just pretty much draw it how you see. This part I was going off of I found a photograph of a crow, because I couldn't really think of exactly what a crow looks like. I haven't stared at one long enough to be able to draw it from my mind, so I found a photograph of one. Looked cool to me, so start off with his legs, then kind of had him meet. As they go up, you start to run into the feathers. The actual legs of the crow don't have any feathers on them at all, but once you get up towards the top, you start to see it's thicker. And the other cool thing about drawing a crow in particular is that they're black, so you don't have to worry a lot about shading or values. You just make it pretty much all black, and easy. It's really easy, just a silhouette. That pencil right there that I'm using, you might have seen it earlier too when I was fast forwarding. That's actually an eraser. It's made by Faber Castell, and I have it right here. Quite a few people have asked me about that. It's called the Perfection 7056 is what it has written on it, by Faber Castell, and that is a really cool thing that I use all the time. It's just like a wooden pencil, but instead of having lead or charcoal in it, it's actually got rubber. So it's an eraser that you can actually sharpen to a point. And I really love that thing. I use it all the time. But that's one of the things that might be hard to find for a lot of people. I found it at Michael's Arts and Crafts. But for people that live in other countries, your best bet would probably be online. But when I was down in Peru, I found a pencil. I found one of these down there in Peru. It was pretty easy to find, so I know they're in other countries too. You can find them all over the place. But it's kind of like, it's not a common thing, so it might take a little while to find it. Just look around online and you can find them. Those things are kind of a pain to sharpen too, but whatever. Oh, you can see I'm moving onto the body a little bit. Well, right now I'm doing the toes, but I was doing the body, and I'm using the vine charcoal again. And I'm not really like trying to make his toes perfect little crow toes. I'm just drawing some lines in there or whatever. You know, people aren't going to be concentrating a whole lot on his feet or his toes, but it just depends on how much detail you want to get into. You know, there's people that make amazing drawings that have every little detail perfectly drawn in there. And then others that just focus on certain things. And then others that have very little detail. It just depends on your mood and however you want to make it. But you can see I didn't even like outline the crow. That is usually what I do when I'm drawing anything. Landscapes, portraits, whatever. I usually do a basic outline. But because the crow is all black, just a silhouette, you know, it looked really easy to me, so, and it was really easy, you know. You just draw it in there. Just keep glancing up at the photograph. Or if you've seen a lot of crows in your life, I don't know, maybe you can just draw it out of your head. If you've got a good idea of the anatomy of the crow and everything, because a lot of birds have kind of a different shape to them, but crow was pretty straightforward. It was easy to draw. So for the main bulk of the body, I used that vine charcoal, but now for the finer details, I'm going to draw the beak. I needed a sharper pencil, so moved over to the generals. I think it's a hard pencil that I use. Let me see. There's an extra soft that I use sometimes. I think those are the two main ones that I used. One of them's extra soft, 6B, and the other one's a hard, HB. So that'll give you a good range between softness, hardness, darkness. You can see I'm using the vine charcoal again, but I'm kind of leaving a spot right about where his eye is gonna be. This leaves a lot of dust behind, a lot of charcoal, so you can see I just blow it away. Just blow on it to get it off the paper, but that can also be kind of like a bad idea for a lot of people, because if you do it every few minutes, you're just blowing on it to get the charcoal off. You might actually like end up getting saliva on your paper. That's a common occurrence for people drawing charcoal. If they blow the dust off all the time, you know, you might get that problem eventually, but I usually don't run into that. Now I'm trying to get some of the darker values in there with that compressed charcoal, because it's super dark stuff. And the main chest of the bird and body is really, really dark. And then on the wing, there's a few highlights. So I tried to leave the wing a little bit lighter so that I would have more freedom to be able to, you know, make the highlights and shadows that I want. Now working on some toes again. Just trying to get some toenails in there. And I really didn't try to go into fine details on his toes. I was just like, whatever, it's on the tree branch, kind of mixed in with the branch itself, and I'm not going to really try to make it look really, really perfect, because it's not really a point of focus anyways. So. Pretty much the entire animal is black. Some shade of black except for the eye. And actually I think the eye on most crows is black too. Check out this really thin piece of... That's the vine charcoal again, but it's a thinner piece. They come in all kinds of thicknesses. There's some super thick ones, like way thicker than a pencil, just like really thick. And then there's super thin ones, they're like toothpick. So I used it, one of the thinnest ones I had, to shade in the beak, because I kind of want a little bit of highlight also on the beak, because it's made out of like bone, right? So you're going to get some points of highlight. But it's pretty easy. Going around just darkening areas that I want darker. And this is that compressed charcoal, the super dark stuff. I think this stuff is made by, let me see the brand on that. It's called Alphacolor Char-Kole square drawing sticks. So it's made by Alphacolor, I guess, would be the brand on there. I paid $2 for 3 sticks of it, and that's gonna last me a super long time, 'cause that stuff goes a long way. There's that eraser again, the weird eraser pencil, Faber Castell. Because his legs, they're kind of like scaly actually on a crow. He got a weird skin. So I wanted to make a little bit of a highlight on his legs. And here on the wing I'm making some highlight. You don't have to use this special eraser pencil if you can't find one. Just use a regular eraser. One of the pink ones that work good. Just whichever eraser has the sharpest edge to it, you know, that you can get the finest lines with. A kneaded eraser would, that would work, but really soft, so it'd be harder to get thin lines. But hey, that'll work. Or you can always use white charcoal, which I'm going to use in a little bit. I almost always use white charcoal when it comes to highlights. I really love getting like the really strong just contrast in my drawings. That's one of my favorite things to do, is like the blacks, the darks, I really like them to be really dark, and then the lights and the highlights, I like them to be really light. Just as much contrast as I can get. That's just my personal preference, what I really like. But there's other people that make it all a very general, about the same shade, and they look really cool too. Really dreamy, kind of soft. But depends on you, what kind of effect you want. So I'm using that eraser pencil to get the eye, shape of the eye, and trying to get all of the dark out of there, because like I was saying, I really like the contrast. Now I'm making it more circular, as round as I can. And it's actually not a perfect circle, the eye. He kind of has like a brow type thing going on top. It's kind of got a flatter top on it because of the feathers he's got up there. But now I'm doing the pupil, which is a perfect little circle. You gotta try and make it as round as you can. And then you move on and just start working again on the wings. There's a couple feathers coming off that gets into some finer details, so I'm using the pencil on there to make those little feathers. Now this is white charcoal. It's kind of like chalk. It's totally white, and used it to put a little bit of highlight on his eye. And now I'm putting some highlight on his feathers, right there on his chest. Just probably right where like sun would be hitting him or light would be reflecting. But I use these all the time. I really love the highlights that you can get with them. Try and find like the whitest ones, the cleanest piece of white charcoal, and you can get some good highlights with it. A little bit on his beak. Then I move on to the wing, put some highlights in there. There's lots of areas on feathers. It's kind of weird. I'd never drawn feathers, I don't think, but there's areas that reflect the light, so you end up with some highlights, especially on his wings. There were quite a few lines that I had to add in there, but it's really easy. Just shade it in there, and there you go. Down to his tail. Then his legs, like I'm doing right now, had some highlights because they're kind of bony, scaly looking. So you can add them in there. So there you have it. There's the finished crow. So I really hope that this tutorial has helped, and I'm gonna put the links to this image in the description and also to the original photograph of the crow so that you guys can find those easily. And yeah, I really hope that this tutorial has helped you, and please leave any comments below, any questions that you have or suggestions for future videos. I read all of your comments and I try to respond to all of them. I might not be able to respond to all of them, but I do read all of them. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Be sure to post an image of this on Facebook. If you end up drawing this crow, follow me on Facebook and send me your drawings because I love to see them. And thanks a lot for watching, guys. Good luck.